The waitress who secretly fed a lonely boy. 4 SUVs at her diner. Change everything. Maggie Thompson wiped down the counter for the 3rd time that afternoon, her mind wandering as she worked. The diner was quiet, the usual lunch rush having subsided, leaving only a few regulars nursing their coffees and chatting softly. She glanced at the clock. Almost 4 p.m. Any minute now, he would walk through the door. The bell above the entrance chimed softly, and in walked Eli Carter. He was a thin, pale boy with dark, haunted eyes that seemed to hold more wisdom than his years should allow. He wore the same oversized clothes every day, a faded backpack slung over one shoulder. Maggie watched as he made his way to the corner booth, his steps slow and measured, as if he were carrying the weight of the world. Eli had been coming to the diner for the past 2 weeks, always at the same time, always ordering the same thing, a glass of water. At first, Maggie thought he might be waiting for someone, but as the days passed, it became clear that he came alone. He would sit quietly, staring out the window or scribbling in a tattered notebook, his presence almost ghost-like. One evening, when the diner was nearly empty, Maggie decided to approach him. She had noticed the way his eyes lingered on the plates of food she served to other customers, the way his stomach rumbled softly when she walked by with a tray of freshly baked pies. She couldn't stand the thought of him going hungry. With a plate of grilled cheese sandwiches and a bowl of tomato soup in hand, Maggie walked over to Eli's table. She placed the food down gently, her voice soft but firm. "On the house," she said, her eyes meeting his. Eli looked up, surprise etched on his face. His dark eyes widened, and for a moment he seemed frozen, unsure of what to do. Maggie could see the struggle in his gaze, hunger warring with pride. But hunger won out, and he nodded slightly, murmuring a barely audible, "Thank you." From that day forward, Maggie made sure there was something extra on Eli's plate. A slice of pie, an extra sandwich, even a thermos of hot chocolate for him to take home. She never asked questions, and he never offered answers. Their unspoken bond grew stronger with each passing week, a silent understanding that transcended words. Maggie watched as Eli ate, his movements slow and deliberate, as if he were savoring every bite. She couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction, knowing that she had made a difference, even if it was just a small one. She had seen enough hardship in her own life to recognize it in others, and she was determined to do what she could to ease Eli's burden. As the days turned into weeks, Maggie found herself looking forward to Eli's visits. She would prepare his favorite dishes, always making sure to include a little something extra. And though he never said much, she could see the gratitude in his eyes, the way his shoulders relaxed slightly when he was in the diner. It was a small victory, but it was enough to keep her going. One day, as Maggie was clearing the tables, she noticed Eli's notebook lying open on the booth. She couldn't help but glance at the pages, her curiosity piqued. What she saw took her breath away, sketches of the diner, of the customers, of her. They were beautifully drawn, capturing the essence of each subject with a level of detail that was almost eerie. Maggie looked up, her eyes meeting Eli's. He blushed slightly, quickly closing the notebook. "They're just doodles," he mumbled, his voice barely above a whisper. "They're beautiful," Maggie said, her voice filled with sincerity. "You have a real talent, Eli." He looked down, his cheeks flushing a deeper shade of red. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice soft but grateful. In that moment, Maggie knew that she had made a difference in Eli's life. And though she didn't know what the future held, she was determined to do whatever she could to help him find his way. Little did she know that her actions would set in motion a chain of events that would change both of their lives forever. One crisp morning, as Maggie unlocked the diner and brewed the first pot of coffee, the quiet hum of the rural Texas landscape was shattered by the sound of engines. 4 black SUVs pulled up outside, their polished exteriors gleaming under the early sunlight. Men in suits stepped out, their polished shoes clicking against the gravel parking lot. They entered the diner, scanning the room like they were searching for something or someone. At the head of the group stood a tall man with sharp features and piercing gray eyes. Maggie recognized him immediately. It was Harrison Reed, one of the richest men in the state. His face was tense, almost angry, but beneath that, she sensed desperation. "Ma'am," he began, his voice low but urgent, "have you seen this boy?" He pulled out a photo of Eli. Maggie froze for a moment, her heart pounding. She glanced toward the corner booth where Eli usually sat, though today he wasn't there. I don't know him," she lied, her instincts screaming to protect the boy. Harrison studied her carefully, then nodded. "If you see him, call this number." He handed her a card before leaving with his entourage. As the SUVs drove away, Maggie felt a chill run down her spine. Something about those men, and the look in Harrison's eyes, told her this wasn't just a casual search. Maggie stood there, the card clutched tightly in her hand, her mind racing. She knew she had to protect Eli, but she also knew that Harrison Reed was not a man to be trifled with. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her nerves, and slipped the card into her apron pocket. As the day wore on, Maggie found it hard to concentrate. Every time the bell above the door chimed, she jumped, her heart racing. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, that Eli was in danger. She kept glancing at the clock, willing the hours to pass faster so she could see Eli and make sure he was okay. Finally, as the sun began to set, Eli walked through the door. He looked even more tired and worn than usual, his eyes darting nervously around the diner. Maggie rushed over to him, her voice low and urgent. "Eli, are you okay?" she asked, her eyes searching his. He nodded, but she could see the fear in his gaze. "I'm fine," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. Maggie led him to the corner booth, her mind racing. She knew she had to tell him about Harrison Reed, but she wasn't sure how to broach the subject. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. "Eli, there were some men here today," she began, her voice soft but firm. "They were looking for you." Eli's eyes widened in alarm, and he gripped the edge of the table tightly. "Who were they?" he asked, his voice trembling. "One of them was Harrison Reed," Maggie said, watching his reaction carefully. "He showed me a photo of you and asked if I'd seen you." Eli's face paled and he looked down, his shoulders slumping. "I knew it," he murmured, his voice filled with resignation. Maggie reached out, placing a gentle hand on his arm. "Eli, what's going on?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. "Who is Harrison Reed to you?" Eli took a deep breath, his eyes meeting hers. "He's my grandfather," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Maggie's eyes widened in surprise. She hadn't expected that. She leaned back in her seat, her mind racing. "Your grandfather?" she repeated, her voice filled with disbelief. Eli nodded. "My father left me when I was a kid," he explained, his voice filled with pain. "He just disappeared one day and never came back. I've been on my own ever since." Maggie's heart ached for the boy. She could see the pain in his eyes, the weight of the world on his shoulders. She reached out, taking his hand in hers. "I'm so sorry, Eli," she said, her voice filled with sincerity. Eli looked down, his eyes filling with tears. "I never knew my grandfather," he said, his voice trembling. "I didn't even know he existed until a few weeks ago. He found out about me and started looking for me. I don't know why, but I don't want anything to do with him." Maggie's heart went out to the boy. She could see the fear and uncertainty in his eyes, the struggle he was facing. She squeezed his hand gently, her voice filled with determination. "Eli, I promise you, I won't let anyone hurt you," she said, her voice firm. "We'll figure this out together, okay?" Eli looked up at her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Maggie," he said, his voice soft but sincere. Maggie smiled, her heart swelling with love for the boy. She knew that whatever came their way, they would face it together. And as she looked into Eli's eyes, she knew that she would do whatever it took to protect him and help him find his way. Later that night, after the diner had closed and the last of the customers had left, Maggie found herself pacing nervously in the quiet kitchen. The encounter with Harrison Reed and his men had left her unsettled, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong. She glanced at the clock, her heart pounding as she waited for Eli to arrive. Finally, the back door of the diner creaked open, and Eli slipped inside, his breath coming in short, ragged gasps. He was trembling, his eyes wide with fear. Maggie rushed to him, her arms wrapping around him in a protective embrace. "Eli, what happened?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. Eli clung to her, his body shaking. "They're looking for me," he whispered, his voice trembling. "I saw them driving around town. I had to hide." Maggie's heart ached for the boy. She led him into the storage room, locking the door behind them. The small space was filled with shelves of canned goods and cleaning supplies, but it felt safe and secure. She guided Eli to a small stool and sat down beside him, her hand still holding his. "Eli, you need to tell me everything," she said gently. "I can't help you if I don't know what's going on." Eli took a deep breath, his eyes meeting hers. "My dad left me when I was 8, he began, his voice soft but steady. "He just disappeared one day and never came back. I've been on my own ever since, living in an abandoned barn on the outskirts of town." Maggie's heart broke for the boy. She could see the pain in his eyes, the struggle he had faced. "And your grandfather?" she asked, her voice filled with curiosity. Eli sighed. "I never knew him. My dad never talked about his family. A few weeks ago I found out that my grandfather, Harrison Reed, had been looking for me. He found out about me and started trying to find me. I don't know why, but I don't want anything to do with him." Maggie listened intently, her heart aching for the boy. She could see the fear and uncertainty in his eyes, the struggle he was facing. "Eli, why are you so afraid of him?" she asked gently. Eli looked down, his eyes filling with tears. "He thinks he can just swoop in and fix everything," he said, his voice filled with bitterness. "But he doesn't understand. I'm not some project for him to save. I don't want his money or his help. I just want to be left alone." Maggie's heart went out to the boy. She could see the pain in his eyes, the weight of the world on his shoulders. She squeezed his hand gently, her voice filled with determination. "Eli, I promise you, I won't let anyone hurt you," she said, her voice firm. "We'll figure this out together, okay?" Eli looked up at her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Maggie," he said, his voice soft but sincere. Maggie smiled, her heart swelling with love for the boy. She knew that whatever came their way, they would face it together. And as she looked into Eli's eyes, she knew that she would do whatever it took to protect him and help him find his way. Over the next few days, Maggie and Eli worked together to come up with a plan. Maggie made sure Eli had a safe place to stay, hiding him in the small apartment above the diner. She brought him food and supplies, making sure he had everything he needed. And as they spent more time together, their bond grew stronger. Maggie also decided to do some digging of her own. She knew that Harrison Reed was a powerful man, and she needed to understand his motives. She spent her free time researching him, trying to find out as much as she could about his past and his connection to Eli. One evening, as Maggie was closing up the diner, she noticed a familiar face sitting at the counter. It was Harrison Reed, his sharp features and piercing gray eyes unmistakable. Maggie took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. "Mr. Reed," she said, her voice firm but polite. "What can I do for you?" Harrison looked up at her, his eyes searching hers. "I need to talk to you," he said, his voice low but urgent. Maggie nodded, her heart pounding. She knew she had to tread carefully, but she also knew that she needed to find out the truth. She led Harrison to a quiet booth in the corner of the diner, her mind racing. "What do you want to talk about?" she asked, her voice steady. Harrison took a deep breath, his eyes meeting hers. "I know you're protecting Eli," he said, his voice filled with sincerity. "And I understand why, but I need you to understand something. I'm not here to hurt him. I'm here to help him." Maggie listened intently, her eyes searching his. She could see the sincerity in his gaze, the desperation in his voice. And as he began to explain his side of the story, she realized that there was more to Harrison Reed than she had initially thought. "Eli's father, my son, left him when he was just a boy," Harrison explained, his voice filled with pain. "I never knew about Eli until recently. I've been trying to find him, to make amends for the mistakes of the past. I want to help him, to give him the life he deserves." Maggie's heart went out to the man. She could see the pain in his eyes, the struggle he was facing. She knew that she had to find a way to bridge the gap between Harrison and Eli, to help them both find the healing they needed. "Mr. Reed, I understand your intentions," she said, her voice filled with sincerity. "But you need to understand that Eli is scared. He's been through a lot, and he needs time to trust you. You can't just swoop in and expect him to accept your help." Harrison nodded, his eyes filled with understanding. "I know," he said, his voice soft but sincere. "And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to earn his trust. I just need your help, Maggie. I need you to be the bridge between us, to help us find a way to connect." Maggie took a deep breath, her mind racing. She knew that she had to do what was best for Eli, and she believed that Harrison's intentions were genuine. She nodded, her voice filled with determination. "I'll help you," she said, her voice firm. "But you need to be patient. You need to give Eli the time and space he needs to trust you." Harrison nodded, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Maggie," he said, his voice soft but sincere. "I promise you, I won't let you down." And as Maggie looked into Harrison's eyes, she knew that she had made the right decision. She knew that together they would find a way to help Eli find his way and heal the wounds of the past. Over the next few days, Maggie acted as a bridge between Eli and Harrison. She arranged for them to meet in neutral territory, the quiet, cozy diner where Eli felt safe and comfortable. Maggie made sure to be present during their meetings, providing a sense of security for Eli and a mediator for Harrison. The first meeting was tense. Eli sat stiffly in the corner booth, his eyes darting nervously between Maggie and Harrison. Harrison, for his part, tried to keep his demeanor calm and approachable, but the weight of the situation was evident in his tense shoulders and careful words. "Eli," Harrison began, his voice soft but steady, "I want you to know that I'm here to help you, not to control you. I understand that you've been through a lot, and I respect your independence. I just want to make amends for the past and give you the support you need to pursue your dreams." Eli listened intently, his eyes searching Harrison's face for any sign of insincerity. Maggie sat beside Eli, her hand gently resting on his arm, providing silent support. "I don't need your money," Eli said, his voice firm but quiet. "I just want to be left alone to live my life." Harrison nodded, understanding in his eyes. "I respect that, Eli, but I also want you to know that you don't have to do this alone. I can provide you with the resources and support you need to finish high school, pursue your art, and build a future for yourself. But it's entirely up to you. I won't force anything on you." Eli looked down, his fingers tracing the edge of the table. Maggie could see the struggle in his eyes, the internal battle between pride and the need for support. She squeezed his arm gently, her voice soft but encouraging. "Eli, it's okay to accept help," she said. "It doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong. And Harrison is offering you a chance to build the life you deserve." Eli took a deep breath, his eyes meeting Harrison's. "I'll think about it," he said, his voice filled with a mix of caution and hope. Harrison smiled, a genuine warmth in his eyes. "That's all I ask, Eli. Take your time and let me know what you decide. I'll be here to support you, no matter what." Over the next few days, Eli and Harrison continued to meet, their conversations becoming more open and honest. Eli began to share more about his dreams and aspirations, and Harrison listened intently, offering guidance and support without being overbearing. Maggie watched as the bond between them grew stronger, her heart swelling with pride and hope. She knew that she had played a crucial role in bringing them together, and she was grateful for the opportunity to make a difference in their lives. One evening, as Maggie was closing up the diner, Eli approached her with a determined look in his eyes. "Maggie, I've made a decision," he said, his voice steady. Maggie smiled, her eyes filled with encouragement. "What have you decided, Eli?" she asked. Eli took a deep breath. "I've decided to accept Harrison's help," he said, "but on my terms. I want to finish high school and pursue my art. But I want to do it my way. I don't want to be controlled or forced into anything." Maggie's heart swelled with pride. She could see the strength and determination in Eli's eyes, the courage it took for him to make this decision. She reached out, taking his hand in hers. "Eli, I'm so proud of you," she said, her voice filled with sincerity. "You're making the right decision, and I know you'll achieve great things. Harrison will support you, and I'll be here for you every step of the way." Eli smiled, a genuine warmth in his eyes. "Thank you, Maggie," he said. "I couldn't have done this without you." Maggie's heart swelled with love for the boy. She knew that she had made a difference in his life, and she was grateful for the opportunity to help him find his way. The next day, Maggie arranged for Eli and Harrison to meet again. This time the atmosphere was lighter, more hopeful. Eli shared his decision with Harrison, his voice filled with determination. "Harrison, I've decided to accept your help," he said, "but I want to do it my way. I want to finish high school and pursue my art, but I don't want to be controlled or forced into anything." Harrison listened intently, a genuine warmth in his eyes. "Eli, I respect your decision," he said. "I'll support you in any way I can, but I won't force anything on you. You have my word." Eli nodded, a sense of relief washing over him. "Thank you, Harrison," he said. "I appreciate your support." Harrison smiled, a genuine warmth in his eyes. "You're welcome, Eli. I'm proud of you, and I know you'll achieve great things. I'll be here to support you every step of the way." As Maggie watched the bond between Eli and Harrison grow stronger, she knew that she had played a crucial role in bringing them together. She was grateful for the opportunity to make a difference in their lives, and she knew that she would continue to support them in any way she could. Over the next few weeks, Maggie and Harrison worked together to create a plan for Eli's future. They arranged for him to enroll in a local high school, providing him with the resources and support he needed to succeed. They also set up a studio for him to pursue his art, giving him the space and freedom to create. As Eli settled into his new life, Maggie continued to support him, providing a listening ear and a shoulder to lean on. She knew that he still had a long way to go, but she was confident that he would achieve great things. And as Maggie watched Eli grow and thrive, she knew that she had made a difference in his life. She was grateful for the opportunity to help him find his way, and she was determined to continue supporting him in any way she could. Months later, the diner buzzed with activity as Maggie served pie to customers. Through the window, she spotted Eli sitting in the passenger seat of Harrison's car, laughing at something his grandfather said. They waved at her as they drove off toward a brighter future. Maggie smiled, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. Life had thrown challenges her way, but she'd chosen to face them with kindness, and in doing so, changed not only Eli's life, but her own as well. As the days turned into weeks, Maggie found herself inspired by Eli's journey. She had always dreamed of opening a community center for struggling teens, a place where they could find support, guidance, and a sense of belonging. And now, with Harrison's support, she knew that she could make that dream a reality. Maggie began to research and plan, determined to create a space that would make a difference in the lives of young people. She reached out to local organizations, seeking partnerships and resources to bring her vision to life. And as she worked, she knew that she was on the right path, that she was meant to make a difference in the world. One evening, as Maggie was closing up the diner, Harrison stopped by to check in on her progress. He listened intently as she shared her plans and dreams, his eyes filled with admiration and support. "Maggie, I'm proud of you," he said, his voice filled with sincerity. "You have a heart of gold, and I know you'll make a difference in the lives of so many young people. I'll support you in any way I can." Maggie's heart swelled with gratitude. She knew that she couldn't have done this without Harrison's support, and she was grateful for the opportunity to make a difference in the world. "Thank you, Harrison," she said, her voice filled with sincerity. "I appreciate your support more than you know." Harrison smiled, a genuine warmth in his eyes. "You're welcome, Maggie. I'm proud to support you, and I know you'll achieve great things." As Maggie continued to work on her plans, she knew that she was on the right path. She was determined to make a difference in the world, to create a space where young people could find support, guidance, and a sense of belonging. And as she worked, she knew that she was meant to make a difference, that she was meant to change the world one act of kindness at a time. The community center Maggie had dreamed of was finally a reality. The grand opening was a day filled with joy and hope. Children ran around laughing and playing, while parents and volunteers mingled, sharing stories and dreams. Eli, now healthier and more confident, stood by Maggie's side, helping her greet the guests. Harrison, who had become a regular at the diner, watched proudly from a distance. He had not only funded the center, but also ensured it had everything it needed to thrive. As the sun began to set, Maggie looked around at the bustling center, her heart full. She had found her purpose, and in doing so, she had given others a chance to find theirs too. Eli approached her, a warm smile on his face. "Maggie, this is amazing," he said, his eyes filled with admiration. "You've created something truly special here." Maggie smiled, her heart swelling with love for the boy. "Thank you, Eli," she said. "I couldn't have done it without you. You inspired me to make a difference, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to help others find their way." Eli's eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Maggie," he said. "You've changed my life, and I know you'll change the lives of so many others." As Maggie and Eli stood there, watching the joy and hope that filled the community center, they knew that they had made a difference. They had faced challenges and overcome obstacles, and in doing so, they had created something truly special, a place where young people could find support, guidance, and a sense of belonging. And as Maggie looked into Eli's eyes, she knew that she would continue to support him, to help him find his way, and to make a difference in the world, one act of kindness at a time. Thank you for joining us on this heartwarming journey of kindness, redemption, and new beginnings. If you enjoyed The Waitress Who Secretly Fed a Lonely Boy, please let us know in the comments below. Your feedback means the world to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories that celebrate the power of love and the strength of the human spirit. Until next time, keep believing in the magic of small acts of kindness and the extraordinary impact they can have on our lives